The Second World War, also known as World War II, was a global conflict that lasted from 1939 to 1945. It was the deadliest conflict in human history, with an estimated 70 million fatalities worldwide. The war involved the majority of the world's nations, including all of the great powers, and was primarily fought between two opposing military alliances, the Allies and the Axis. The immediate cause of the war was the invasion of Poland by Germany on September 1, 1939. This led Britain and France to declare war on Germany on September 3, 1939. However, the roots of the conflict can be traced back to the Treaty of Versailles, which ended World War I and imposed harsh reparations on Germany. These reparations, combined with economic instability and political turmoil, allowed for the rise of Nazi Germany and the leadership of Adolf Hitler. The war began with Germany's rapid conquest of much of Europe, including the Low Countries, France, Denmark, Norway, and Yugoslavia. Italy, an ally of Germany, also declared war on the Allies and invaded North Africa and Greece. Japan, a member of the Axis, began expanding its empire in the Pacific, attacking China and other nations in Southeast Asia. The war was marked by numerous significant events, including the Battle of Britain, in which the Royal Air Force successfully defended Britain from German air attacks, the Battle of Stalingrad, a major turning point on the Eastern Front, where Soviet forces defeated a German army and inflicted heavy losses, and the D-Day invasion, when the Allies landed on the beaches of Normandy and opened a second front in Western Europe. The war also witnessed a number of atrocities, including the Holocaust, in which 6 million Jews were systematically murdered by the Nazis, and the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, which killed an estimated 200,000 people and forced Japan's surrender. The tide of the war began to turn in 1942, as the United States entered the conflict and provided vital support to the Allies. The war in Europe culminated with the fall of Berlin in May 1945 and the subsequent surrender of Germany. The war in the Pacific ended with the dropping of atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki in August 1945, and Japan's surrender on August 15, 1945. The Second World War had far-reaching consequences, shaping the course of world history for decades to come. The war marked the end of European dominance in world affairs and the beginning of the Cold War, a period of heightened tension between the United States and the Soviet Union. It also led to the formation of the United Nations, an international organization designed to promote peace and cooperation among nations. In addition to its political and social consequences, the war also had a significant impact on technological and scientific development. The development of radar, jet engines, and other advanced technologies during the war laid the groundwork for the modern era of technology and innovation. The war also had a profound impact on individuals and societies. Millions of people were displaced and left homeless, and the war had a significant impact on mental health. Many soldiers suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder, a condition that was not widely recognized or understood at the time. The Second World War remains one of the most significant events in human history, a testament to both the destructive power of war and the resilience of the human spirit. Its legacy continues to be felt today, as the world strives to learn from the lessons of the past and build a better future. The Cold War was a geopolitical conflict between the United States and the Soviet Union that lasted from the end of World War II in 1945 to the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991. It was characterized by a state of tension and hostility between the two superpowers, who were both trying to spread their influence and ideology around the world. The origins of the Cold War can be traced back to the end of World War II, when the Allies, led by the United States, defeated Nazi Germany and the Axis powers. The Soviet Union, which had suffered greatly during the war, was eager to ensure its own security and protect its interests in Eastern Europe. In 1945, the Soviet Union established communist governments in Poland, Czechoslovakia, Hungary, Romania, and Bulgaria, which were collectively known as the Eastern Bloc. This move alarmed the United States, which believed that the Soviet Union was trying to spread communism and expand its influence beyond its borders. The tension between the United States and the Soviet Union intensified in the late 1940s and early 1950s, as both sides began to develop nuclear weapons and engage in a nuclear arms race. The United States also established a policy of containment, which aimed to prevent the spread of communism around the world. The Truman Doctrine, announced in 1947, pledged support for countries that were threatened by communism, and the Marshall Plan, which provided economic aid to Western European countries, was also part of this strategy. The Cold War was characterized by a series of proxy wars, in which the United States and the Soviet Union supported opposing sides in conflicts around the world. One of the most famous examples of this was the Korean War, which lasted from 1950 to 1953. The United States supported South Korea, which was fighting against the communist government of North Korea, which was backed by the Soviet Union and China. Another example was the Vietnam War, which lasted from 1955 to 1975. The United States supported South Vietnam, which was fighting against the communist government of North Vietnam, which was backed by the Soviet Union and China. The Cold War also had a significant impact on domestic politics in both the United States and the Soviet Union. In the United States, the fear of communism led to the rise of McCarthyism, a period of intense anti-communist sentiment and political repression. In the Soviet Union, the Cold War was used by the government to justify its authoritarian rule and crackdowns on dissent. The Cold War came to an end in the late 1980s and early 1990s, as a result of a number of factors. The Soviet Union, which was suffering from economic stagnation and political instability, began to reform under the leadership of Mikhail Gorbachev. Gorbachev introduced a policy of glasnost, which allowed for greater political openness and freedom of expression, and perestroika, which aimed to reform the Soviet economy. However, these reforms also led to demands for greater political freedom and autonomy in the Soviet Union, which ultimately led to the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991. The end of the Cold War marked a significant shift in global politics, as the United States emerged as the world's sole superpower. However, the legacy of the Cold War can still be felt today, as tensions between the United States and Russia continue to simmer and the world remains divided along ideological lines.